How do I live life again? I want to feel like I have purpose. I want to feel inspired. I want to start to live life again and feel confident about my sexuality, who I am as a man. Our topic today, how to re-engage in life, love, and sexuality from an attractive new frame of confidence and self-respect. I'm Jeff Allen with Good Guys to Great Men and Great Men Move Mountains, and this is a live tribe call. We have 90 minutes here today. We started these live tribe calls at the beginning of the pandemic because many men, of course, were completely isolated. And what we are about is a community of men raising each other up, learning about purpose and power within their own self and how to have a phenomenal relationship with your woman, right? That's what we're here to discuss today. And so let's start with confidence. What is confidence? Confidence, the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something, a firm trust. Confidence is the state of feeling certain about the truth of something. Confidence is a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. So trust, belief, self-assurance in your own qualities, your own abilities. And the three levels of relationship that I teach, level one is this sort of caveman, cavewoman, not bad, but instinctual desire where sex is powerful, especially at the beginning of relationship, right? The chemistry. So surface level, body. Level two is we become roommates together. We grow a life together, responsibilities of the mind and compromise. And level three is sexual again, soul connection, the seeing the divine spark, so to speak, in each other and feeling the desire to connect intimately with our heart and with our soul. And so, what I teach and what we want is to go through level one, two, and three, go into level three of connectedness and relationship. So, not to pedestalize her, right? We accidentally pedestalize her through a lot of nice guy behaviors. And that's where many men come to this work, right? That's where I came to this work over 10 years ago was I thought as long as she's happy, then I'm doing everything right. As long as she's happy, then I have value. Yeah. As long as I can check all those boxes, let me look across the table, let me look across the kitchen island while we're having coffee. Is she happy today? Okay, good. I'm happy today. And that's where a lot of guys start. But instead of putting her up on a pedestal like this, what we want to put on a pedestal is our beliefs. So these icons, our belief in our own work and our kids and our whatever spiritual beliefs you have, control of our own time and balance and love and respect in our life. That's what we're shooting for. And we want, of course, for her to be on this journey with us, but we're starting to learn we can't sell ourselves out. We can't just try to please her because that doesn't work. It doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for her. So, how to re-engage in life, love, and sexuality from an attractive new frame of confidence and self-respect. By the end of this call, we'll go through number one, how to find and practice your own unique brand of self-worthiness. Number two, how to be certain that you'll find love again. And number three, what my private, what I'm calling 17 by 2 formula for connection with women. And I have been teaching that 17 by 2 formula for going on 10 years now. And I haven't brought it to light often because honestly, I want to make sure, let me come back to you here. I want to make sure that you're not here just to try to get tips and tricks how to, get in a woman's pants basically, or just how to have her appeal of you, appreciate you and appease you, because that's not what this is about, right? I'm never here to manipulate someone. This is about uh, quality within our own heart of the man that we want to be. And we want to invite her into that, not to trick her into something, not to just fix this short term, but to be a deep solution for your own self and with your woman. So before we began, I asked the guys on the call right now, what does self-worth mean to you? What is number one, your own unique brand of self-worthiness mean to you? And gentlemen, put into the chat a bunch. I love this. So based on your own values, a practice of spiritual confidence, being okay with who you are in your current state, integrity, self-worth. These are all different, men. I love you guys being here. Positive connection with others, being able to produce an honest and valuable worth ethic and product, feeling safe and valued in my own skin, knowing who I am and being that, outcome independence, to know what good things you bring into relationship and what things you need to make it better. Yeah, having a path that we can follow so we know that we're making progress is a part of flow, is a part of feeling joy in our life, is that journey that we feel like we're growing, right? Some more guys. Internal value, virtue, integrity I build within myself that can be shared and nurturing to others' lives. Yeah, we have worth in others' lives and in our own. My self-worth is challenged by comparisons to others and what others think is valuable. Yeah, who are we within our own self? Self-worth is knowing others can count on me and knowing that I'll stick to my values when they conflict with what others want and what she wants. Absolutely, guys. So I want to hear from you today. I do have a scenario a man posted yesterday within the forum. And I know many men here have been doing this work for quite a while. So I want to ask your opinion. Let's start with I want you to come in and give me your opinion on this man's situation. If you were this man, if you were this man's friend, what would you say to him? How would you talk with him? So let's get in here and then I'll ask you gentlemen here live your situation. This man said, I want to peek at my own shortcomings as I found myself crashing and burning again, as I so often have over the course of this work. Thus, I will continue to open up my soul like a cadaver on the operating table. Wife has been short, cold, overwhelmed, anxious, and struggling if she could continue to teach or move on from teaching her job. Her heart was heavy for at least 2 or 3 days. Then she moved from there to I'm all touched out to I am just exhausted. I brought up today that my heart was heavy and missed her. I asked her open ended questions about what she needs and how I can help with her anxiety. She asked why my heart was heavy, and I told her she's been colder than normal and rejective to my small moments to connect with her. Holy fucking shit. Mistake. That started her down the road of, well, I need this from you, and I have to take care of the kids, and I just need some rest. And how do I not care about her? And I have nothing left to give. Everyone needs something from me. She said, I don't get 2 minutes to myself, on and on. I tried my hardest to ask her how I could help and just tried to be present, but she wouldn't let go of me sharing my heart. She kept coming back to it and then trying in every way to disapprove that I shouldn't even feel that way. A whole thing left me feeling raw and vulnerable. I almost never want to open up to her about my feels ever again. And like she can't hear what I said because she only understands how what I said made her feel. And then she shares what she feels and shits all over me. I just feel raw and gross, raw and icky and angry that I don't get heard at all. I guess I don't need a mommy. I don't know. I don't know anything about this one. Please advise. Questions. Did I mess up? Is she left? She kind of left it open for me to speak. Should I have backed off and just addressed her concerns once the shit hit the fan? I'm very confused and with how to navigate this one. I thought I should open up and connect, but now I'm thinking I should have just said, "Oh, you were not being as warm and loving as normal. What's up with that? Is that how that is done?" He asks. Do I ever share my feelings? I'm very confused. So if you were this man in terms of seeing his own sense of self-worth, how he finds love again with his woman, how he connects with his woman. What would you do in this situation? I want you to come on in. So either raise your hand in Zoom and with the reactions button or just unmute yourself and come on in. If you were this man, how would you approach the situation?
She wants space, so you give her space. He's giving her needs, and she's already overwhelmed. So to me, he leads by giving her space in the sense if she's overwhelmed with work, to even help her with that work without saying anything. Hire a housekeeper. She's saying she's grossly overwhelmed, and you're just another bloody need that I've got to fill, and I'm not your mother. And she didn't need him expressing the feelings because in a way that's needy at the moment, and she's not in the position to hear right now. So to me, if she's overwhelmed with work and kids, give her space around that. Babysitter, somebody to clean the house. There's always people cleaning houses wanting extra money. And give her that space. Don't ask her about it. Just get somebody in to do it, so she can relax and have time on her own.
Yeah, thank
And
you. One man that's actually I've stolen something from man, I believe who was on here. You know, we hear space that you're the banks of the river, and he said, I look at it like building castle walls outwards so that she can have space to thrive inside those castle walls. And that's what I hear you saying is, okay, it's not just space like being away from her, but offering her somehow an opportunity to what feel better about. So take me a step forward from there. Where do you see this man's sense of self-worth? Where is he trying to source that? What's maybe he doing wrong?
Well, he's not sourcing it within himself because he's asking her for some sort of affirmation, and she doesn't like that. And he's got to get to the point where he knows his own value. Here it is, take it or leave it. This is what I am. Here's what I can do. And he's got to lead. He's got to build that castle. He's not going to, he doesn't need to ask her how to build it. She'll come back at the moment. She's overwhelmed. She's not in a position where she's hearing him. Accept is another need. And in a way, she was looking for affirmation. Why do you think you need to tell me that?
Yeah. So let's take a step forward. I agree with everything that you're saying. Step forward from there. I hear from guys all the time. What about her? Do we as men have to do everything? Does he need to be perfect here? Where's her responsibility? Well, how do you see that? Is that a helpful way to look at this? What do you think?
No, you don't need to be perfect. To take the piss slightly, if you were perfect, she'd have nothing to bitch about. So you've got to give her something to vent about and express her feelings. So, but you just do your best, and you go, this is how I am. This is me. I'm a product of my upbringing, and this is how I deal with it. And you let her come towards you. You, like they keep saying, be the mountain, be the rock that is calm and constant in the midst of her storm. That hears her, says, "How says I hear what you're saying," or asks what and how questions, and just be that calmness. Because ultimately, if she's overwhelmed, it's like she's in a storm and she's lost the rudder. You've got to be the rudder and go, yeah, it's a bit rocky at the moment, but there's a lighthouse there, and we're steering towards that.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here, Patrick. I appreciate you jumping in. Let's press pause. Who else? Who else sees something within this? He said, I tried my hardest, but what about him? Right? His heart is heavy. I told her she'd been colder than normal and rejected to my moments to connect, and wow, mistake. What else are you seeing here within his own self-worth? Meet yourself. Come on in.
Is he looking for validation from her? Does he maybe need to self-validate in this situation, or could that be a piece of it?
That's what it looks like, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. Can you relate to that? Talk with us about that.
Can I relate to it? Well, in my circumstances, I'm physically separated. So when I think about the scenario that's being presented here, I shudder because it's easy for me because I have this physical separation of literal space. So, all my communication is going to be a text just around logistics with the kids. So I really would feel for a guy like that. If I had to make quick decisions on the fly of how to react to things without having that space and time, to be quite honest with you, I think that'd be a huge challenge. But like what Patrick was saying, I think a big component of living the path that we're as on the path of initiated men is what I like to think of it as, is maintaining that calm inner peace. And I think that there's moments when we're challenged, and in those moments, I think that's where we really need to dig deep and we need to find our spiritual confidence and just find some presence uh, and take a pause if we're not able to move forward and we're not quite sure how to move forward, like the situation we presented there. I think a little bit of space, like Patrick mentioned, and if because in that situation, I mean, I don't know what that would look like. Maybe they're in a household together, and there's constant friction and there's tension, and for me, it's quite easy because I'm not experiencing that. I love it.
Right.
I've been separated for 5 months, and I'm like, woo! And I just hit the gym every day, take care of the kids, and handle the bills with her. I feel for that guy. That would be a huge challenge. I think a lot of what Patrick said, just maintaining that bearing that we need to have, and making sure that the validation, I'm not seeking validation from her, that I really am confident in that I'm going to be okay, regardless of the situation. And in that situation that we presented, I'm not sure where they're at in the relationship, where they're, So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Validation is the
that's
one.
fantastic. There was something I was going to ask that you answered in there, which is how do you feel confident within your own self? Go to the gym, you pause. What else would you say has been a key for you to feel good about yourself? Because when we go to a woman or anyone, often it feels like we have our hands open, our hands out, like help me, mommy, right? Help. And that's we're seeking validation from her, or we're wanting her to sort of fix it. You've been distant lately, help me. And she sees that as her needing to take responsibility. And in this instance, she doesn't want any more responsibility, per Patrick's point. So, how do you, within your own self, go to a woman or talk with a woman without your kind of hands open like this man?
Well, for me, I think, for me, I think the most important thing in my life is just when I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling in a moment where I might feel unsettled, I just try to provide some space for myself. And that space is just time. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
Yeah, well, time is a big deal. I used to try to fix it right away, right? This energy would rush up the back of my neck and over my head, and I'd get angry or frustrated or confused and just try to plow forward and fix it right away. And
I
you're
wouldn't know
saying,
how to deal with her specifically in this situation. Um, how to cope with her emotions. Um, I think, like Patrick mentioned, we have to maintain our own bearing, and we have to just be emotionally strong within ourselves. So for me personally, I'm really on a path where I feel fantastic. It's only 5 months into my situation, and I'm just feeling very strong. And when there's times when I ruminate on the negative stuff in my relationship, I just stop myself and literally control my thoughts. And it's been a long process to get me to this point where if I find myself in a negative thought pattern, right now I'm able to just stop, recognize it, and squish it, and realize that I do control my thoughts, and my thoughts control my emotions. And a lot of this stuff sounds, we throw these terms around in our community. We hear it a lot. It's in the literature that we read. A lot of us are reading the same books, but putting it into practice and living it, that's entirely different. But this stuff does sink in. It's like osmosis. So me, myself, I'm constantly listening to books. And that stuff just, it, it, it's funny. But very slowly it does start to work. It starts to have an effect on me.
yeah,
So
good
again,
stuff, Dan. Yeah, phenomenal stuff. I'm going to share by the end of this call more specifics on how to do that in my point of view as well. And I love what you said, Dan. Good stuff. Yeah, Caesar, come on in. Thanks for raising your hand.
No, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, no, I'm thanks for sharing that last post. I think there's so many variables and it's so dynamic when you're dealing with this type of situation. Obviously, we don't know the full context of that story, but I can tell you from my behalf, I'm a new dad, 2.5-year old. So, you throw that new variable in marriage. And, I struggle with, I'm kind of an emotional guy, and sometimes I let the emotions take the wheel. But I put myself in this gentleman's shoes, and I think there's this finite balance that I'm trying to achieve, which is being vulnerable, heart open, but yet not expecting anything from her. And I just had a situation last week where we're both and I guess I'm extrapolating from this story is they were both burnt out. I think that's when it can get dangerous. I haven't had a day off in the last 2 years, been working every day. And I think going back about self-worth is like, I don't think I've been, for me in this season, self-worth for me needs to be having the self-awareness to give myself what I truly need. Um, and that's what I could control. And I think very similar to this gentleman, I'm burning out, she's burning out, and now we're fucked. You know what I mean? It's like I
Yeah.
didn't have a plan to say, no matter what, I'm gonna have a reservoir of energy for me. I didn't have reserves because I somebody said you got to dig deep. Well, you're right, but sometimes you've burned through that deep.
Yeah.
For me, and that's where I think I'm at, and I think I'm in a season of creating systems for myself that no matter what, it's you're on a men's call once a week. What does that reserve look like for you? And I think making that self-awareness tangible and manifesting that into habits and I don't know, blocking time off, but I'm definitely in a season where I have to reconfigure that because I think as men, it's so easy for us to just go on, go on, go on, and then we find ourselves in this fierce conversation with our wives or our partners, and we have an opportunity, or our wife tells us, "All right, well, what are you feeling? All right, here we go. Last two
Yeah.
years comes
Yeah.
out." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Holy shit, I didn't know this. I'm not ready for this." And then you're in this vicious cycle, and now how do we climb out of this? Um, so I think there are a lot of variables. I think it's very dynamic. I think the timing of everything is huge. But for me, I'm in this now in this timeline of, all right, I have to just focus on these bite sizes of things that I can control. I can't control how she's going to respond. I can't expect her to respond anyway because there's no that's me wasting the energy. But I think it comes back to that primitive thing of just, all right, this is what I can control, and just kind of sheckling your little minutes here and there and trying to just feed yourself to life again. I don't know if that makes sense,
Yeah,
but
that's really well said, Caesar, that we only have a tank that's so deep and we didn't have a plan for when that runs out. What do we do? How do we feel? Okay, what do we bring to our woman? What do we not? It's really
mm,
well said. So what are you hoping to learn either from this call today, or a favorite question I have is, where's your edge? Where's your edge
mm.
with yourself or with your woman, or we're talking about self-worth today. Where's your edge within that?
What do you mean when you say edge? That the thing, yeah.
Sure. So there's the edge that we might be aware of. Okay, I want to make more money. I want to learn more skills with my woman, how to, let's say, usher her through this situation, how to systemize my own, recharging my own batteries, right? And then there's maybe what we're not aware of, where it feels like it's behind a fog of war, or we see another man in a different place farther ahead of us that's handling something, and we're not even sure of the bridge of how to get there. It's two different. So where would you say your known edge
Mm,
is, and where's a hunch of what you anticipate where an unknown edge may be?
it's a good question. I hope I'm answering this correctly, but I think my first thing that comes to mind, I think the my edge is I'm passionately curious. I'm and growth matters a lot to me. I'm a careerist, and I typically have anywhere from 3 to 4 burners going at the same time, and that's what also kills me, right? And one of
Mm.
the parts of the self-worth is I have to make one of those burners called rest, and integrating that and knowing, like this morning, it was a slow morning. It was uncomfortable just to be in that quiet meditative space because my existing, I guess, edge would be the go go go, the grow grow grow, um,
Yeah.
to produce. So I'm a producer, and so that's we live and die by the things we create. Was there did I
Yeah,
answer
well,
that
that's
question?
yeah. So what I call it, I have to call it active rest now, active rest,
Mm,
because otherwise there's that voice that says like you're being lazy. Even though I'm not, you're being lazy. You're not doing enough, And I even have to say that
hmm.
you're not lazy, Jeff. That's my
Right.
own, that's my edge with my self-worth and rest. Uh, so quick story, Thursday nights, Thursday evening into Friday morning, I often wake up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And that's because about a year ago, I started doing half day Fridays. And very quickly, my brain wakes me up at 3 in the morning telling me either I'm lazy or I'm not doing enough. And my income's only gone up by giving myself boundaries for rest, but it's still a challenge for me. Okay. I'll read a book on my phone, or I often go to the gym at 4 in the morning. I'll be laying there for an hour, hour and a half, trying to go back to sleep or doing a meditation or reading a book or something. And I'll end up going to the gym at 4 in the morning, which happened a couple of days ago. And it reminds me of what you're talking about. Anything like
Mm.
that where you're trying to practically bring more structure into your life, that's still a challenge for you, Caesar?
Yeah, I think so, because something's got to give, right? Some someone's got to pay for that time, right? Whether it's me or my kid or my work. Um, but yeah, it's definitely hard. I think understanding that um, if I go out, the whole system burns out. So if I can just tell myself this is a marathon and this is part of the sustainability of this long marathon, then just know that things are going to be okay. I had a health scare myself about a year ago,
Mm.
which really woke me up. And um, and I try to work out 3 4 times a week, and everything on paper. I shouldn't have had this episode, but obviously it was a stress and everything. It was just kind of the what they call it, the silent killer.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me, it's like, what's the point if I go, but when I hit my 40s, what I mean? There's just no point in it. So for me, it's understanding that rest is just as valuable as work, and as productivity. So I'm in that transition right now, especially being a father. That's you stop thinking so much about yourself and think about his life.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. That's great. Thanks for being here, Caesar. Yeah, my son is grown now. He's 20 and he moved out right after turning 18. And I went through all the karate tournaments and baseball practices, and now
mm,
he's in trouble in school and then work. So yeah, I absolutely know what you mean. My heart goes out to you. Thanks for
mm,
being here. It's being around other guys where we can check ourselves is what's so valuable about this. Yeah, thanks,
appreciate
Caesar.
you
Yeah.
facilitating this. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Caesar. Appreciate it. Yeah, Bill, can you come in? You asked a question in the chat I want to talk about. What's the difference between checking to see if you're the cause versus seeking an affirmation? Like am I okay by asking you if you're okay? Bill, are you there? Can you come in?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. How do you mean? Can you clarify that a little bit more between checking to see if you're the cause versus seeking affirmation? How do you mean? Please. Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes you see that somebody's having a tough time. There may be distance, there's some coldness, any number of things. And classic nice guy move. I'm going through my Rolodex. All right, what did I do that I'm not aware of?
Yeah.
I've done something. There's something going on. The coldness seems to be directed at me, which is ego driven. I'm very aware of that. But sometimes just asking the question of, "Hey, what's going on? Is there something that I've done?" Um, and it's legitimately something that I've done. And then it's coming from that versus, sometimes I'm asking that question just so she'll say, yeah, you're good. And then it'll make me feel better. Okay, she said I'm good, so I'm good
Got you.
because I tie my worth to her. But it gets convoluted, excuse me. It gets convoluted for me sometimes when I'm trying to check what those motivations are.
Sure. I love it. So awareness is the key here that you're talking about. Aware of, okay, am I okay in myself? When I go talking with my woman, am I checking really about myself by engaging with her? And if I am, that's you're learning, we're all learning that that's not her job. And she doesn't want that job. She doesn't want to tell us that we're okay. That's what I'm hearing you say, Bill. Yeah. Hope you got muted, Bill.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
It went back to mute. No, that's it. And so, again, pre being initiated into this group, I know that I was guilty of asking is this okay? Are we okay? And really seeking that for myself. But again, the challenge as you're trying to grow and get over to the other side of the threshold is when are you asking that question in the legitimate light, and when are you not? And sometimes I don't even know the answer to that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. Let's talk about that for a minute. I think there's an error in the fundamental question. If I'm going to my woman, it's not should I ask if we're okay so I can learn if I did something wrong. It's she seems upset and I care about her, so I'm asking her to express. And I'm not trying to figure out, is it because of me? Is it not because of me? Okay. And then the second wave is she says it's because of me. And the fundamental mistake is trying to address her her accusation, because that's a no-win situation. If did I do something wrong? Tell me how your emotions are about how I did something wrong, is jamming two things together that are really multiple spaces apart. So her feelings she might blame us, point being, she may blame us, but it really has nothing to do with us. And we're still wanting to address
yeah.
the emotions, but yeah. Yeah. So,
And
where
that's
do you get tripped
that's a
up there?
tough part, and
Yeah.
like I was listening to Caesar talk about keeping his bucket filled, and when I get hit with I don't think I've done anything wrong. I'm hearing what she's saying. She's screaming to me, not necessarily at me, but I'm in a position of I don't think I can handle this right now. Like
Yeah.
as I try to build my own self-worth and self-confidence and get over that threshold, sometimes it just hits me. And I'm like, why is this okay? You know, uh, if I even remotely went down that road and started in on her when she's legitimately asking if everything and what can she do and this and that, it wouldn't go over so well, to say the least.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So let's break this into a couple of pieces. One is you want to know, it sounds like you want to know, how do I engage in with her without assuming I did something wrong per se? And when she starts to unload on me, how do I handle it? Is that how you would frame what you're wanting to learn next?
Yeah, those are the two. More the second piece, but it took me a while to get to the first piece, so I can always use remedial lesson.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's play this out because I like specifics. So she's in the kitchen. I'm looking at my kitchen. She's in the kitchen. She looks upset. You say, "Hey, sweetie, what's up? Did I do something wrong?" Or that maybe that's the insinuation. And she turns and says, "Yes, you didn't take out the trash. I can't trust you. You said you would do this. I can never have trusted you." Something like this, Bill. What's
Hmm.
relatable to you?
Yeah. I mean, I had one last night. I'd give it to you. I knew that she was upset, and I said, "Hey, do you need an ear? Do you need to unload?" I don't know if I used that exact word, but I think I actually said, "Do you need an ear or someone to talk to?" And she said, "I don't need somebody to talk to. We're just not connected and on the same page. And I thought you were going to do one thing, you did another thing, and it's just really getting under my skin that's the case." And there's a whole story behind it, but it really doesn't matter. That's
Right.
how she's feeling, and I'm honestly feeling the same way, just in reverse. So then it's I'm trying to pick the boil to get her to start to talk. Um, where I went wrong is, she just wanted to fuss for a little bit. And I needed to take a step back and just let her fuss and then re-engage at a different point with something else. Is my takeaway from all of that. But then, I get my feelings hurt and I go pout in the corner, and then I don't want to talk because I just got my feelings hurt. Um, and then the next hardest part is stepping into it, being a man, and saying, "Hey, I know things got out of hand, and sorry about that, and this and that." So again, it's just textbook nice guy stuff.
Yeah, well, let's peel apart that a bit. So, do you feel shame in the moment when she tells you what happens in the moment? She says, "Yes, we're not connected. You're not doing what I thought you should be doing." And what comes up for you?
Um, is she right? Is one thing, but I'm sitting at a drag race track, and these things are just flying by, and I'm trying to catch one of them to hang on to respond. So I'm thinking, is she right? And then I'm thinking, gosh, I've had a lot of these built up in my own mind for a while. So I'm a little bit jealous that she can just come out and say them, where I push mine down a little bit more.
Mm.
And um, and then I realized this is the moment that if I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, I don't think that this is going to be the conversation where I'm going to get anything, because I tried, and it just was, a smart ass remark coming back from that. And I just realized, yeah, I'm not going to get anywhere with this stuff. So let me just remove myself from the conversation, and we'll save it for another time.
Yeah, well, what you said there at the last piece of separating time, that I don't have to try to fix this all in one fell swoop. That's where I got caught up. And um, she'd come home. She said she was going to buy groceries today. She didn't buy groceries today. All right, not a big deal. Next day, said she was going to do it, didn't do it. All right, now I'm getting a little frustrated. Next day, didn't do it. And now it's this avalanche of I can't trust her. And if I bring it up, I'm the bad guy.
Right.
And instead of separating all these different emotions, it sounds like you're on that path. Are you uncertain about your own self? Well, if I'm you, I'm wondering, am I doing the right thing here by slowing this down? Is that where your edge is, Bill, slowing this down?
Yeah, slowing it down, and the comfort in these conversations that we're having today and in the other forums is that what seems extreme becomes incredibly normalized. And that's comforting on some levels. Just to know that, good, the grass isn't greener. It's we're all dealing with the feminine in one way, and we're all acting like the masculine in another way. And I've got my dance shoes out, and I'm trying to learn how to do this dance.
Yeah, certainly. Uh, are you able to go to her at separate times and connect? Do you have, let's say, patience and space in your heart at times to go and connect with her? Are you in that place yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're coming around. I mean, there was certainly some silver linings. She's felt my pullback and in space, and I just loaded up my day to day with just chores and different things to do to keep me occupied and away from being needy. And I think she picked up on that and is starting to make steps back closer.
Sure. Well, thanks, Bill. I appreciate being here. Thanks for your story.
Yeah, no worries. I
Yeah.
hope I didn't take up too much time there.
That's good. That's good. We'll jump over to Phil in a second. Your story reminds me of, I want to go outside and cultivate a garden of vegetables. And I go outside and it's raining in the moment and I'm getting wet. It's soaking my clothes and I'm getting upset with myself because I think the rain is my fault. But the rain often just happens and it's necessary to grow this garden that we're wanting to cultivate. Is I think that we blame ourselves so often for not being prepared that it starts to spiral. It starts to spiral into our own self-shame. And we're here to flush that out. So we feel like you just said, Bill, to normalize these situations. Yeah, Phil, come on in, please.
Yeah, hi. I got a funny kind of something struck me as you were talking. This it's kind of a cliche that the nice guy, and I think many people in this community suffer from a bit of nice guy behavior. The nice guy puts his woman on a pedestal, but I don't think that's true. I mean, it might be true in certain cases, but I've talked to enough guys. Actually, don't put it. They're kind of pissed. I mean, they're kind of like, "What the fuck is wrong with her?" Is more their attitude, mine too, than, "Oh, she's so wonderful, I have to take care of." No, it's more like she can't fucking take care of herself. What's wrong with her when she's going to take $1 million from me? What's wrong with her? I mean, I'm not saying that that's a good thing to feel, but I think that a lot of guys, I bet, because I've spoken to other guys, like she can't, it's kind of the opposite of a pedestal, if that makes any sense. And I think that should be acknowledged and somehow, I don't know, engaged with. I don't know how to engage with it, but that you got this opposite problem. You're dealing with somebody, you love them, you care about them, you want them to thrive. At the same time, you're like, what is wrong with her? Anyway, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, well, sure. So when we come to this work, when men come to this work, including me a decade ago, I felt like I had just gotten knocked out. I felt like I had been thrown out of the club smashed my face against the brick wall and was, laying in a pool of my own blood, really. And so at that point, yeah, at that point, we feel like we're being used. We feel like she's blaming everything on us. The story has shifted. She could never trust us, all of this rewriting history. So at that point, yeah, we're in a spot of wanting to defend ourselves, of feeling like she's not living up to her own standards, let's say. But the nice guy, in my opinion, I want to ask you about this, Phil, was what we see from the past, the way we treated the relationship all along the way, that we maybe didn't stand up for ourselves, or we didn't segregate time for our own self.
But it wasn't because we put her on a pedestal. It's because we didn't want to get yelled at. I'm not saying everybody, but I think that's common enough experience. I didn't stand up for myself, not because I thought she was so wonderful to put her on a pedestal. It's just because I don't want to. This is not the hill I want to die on.
Sure. So let's even rewind the tape a little more. What would make it okay, or what would make it even an option that she's yelling at you? Think 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't want to get yelled at. How is that even a possibility?
I'm sorry, I don't fully understand. It was an actuality. It happened often enough.
Okay. And so why do you think it continued to happen? What within you in the past made that a fear of that continuing to happen?
I mean, look, I think that this is an easy one and a hard one. I mean, why did she do it? You got to ask her. But why do I think she did it? I mean, it's not because of the dish I forgot to wash, okay, or whatever. She's even said that, like, it's not because of that thing. Like, I did all the dishes, but I forgot to wash the pot, or something like, or I broke the fucking coffee pot by accident, and we have to buy a new one, and it's going to take 3 days for it to come here, and I'm not going to have any good coffee until for 3 days. So that's not. So what is it? Obviously, she was profoundly unhappy in the marriage and didn't want to say so, right? I'm sure everybody's. I don't think this is. If it was just me, but I'm sure that this is a shared experience. And I didn't want to open that Pandora's box. That was my fear. And I think if I could go back and advise that man, I would advise that, okay, there's something. This is really deep. She's not mad about. It's not the nail, the joke, right? I mean, it's not about the broken coffee pot. There's something else going on, and you got to find out. And it might ruin, and I didn't. So that was, but it wasn't that I put her on a pedestal. And I think I'm not uncommon. I don't think most men 20 years into a relationship have their women on a pedestal. They might have them on a pedestal like in the first couple of months, but I don't think that's what the men in this room are dealing with. I mean, maybe you can take a vote, but I don't think that that's the problem. I think it's something else. It's they've got themselves afraid that if they push too hard, or if they don't, that the whole thing's going to blow up and going to end. And I think that's where I was 5 years ago. Or that there's just going to be a very unpleasant experience. And I didn't know how to handle those. And now I do. Now I know how, partly because of, this group. I know how to, I know how not to take it personally. I know how not to react. But at the time, I didn't. So anyway.
Sure. So Phil, so semantics or labeling it aside, the big piece there is fear and hiding myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a man, Phil, that put into the chat, to Phil's point, I think we put our wives on a pedestal up to the point in which they state they're unhappy. And then the shift happened, at least that's how it went for me. She's on a pedestal because we're giving her power over us. Another man says, doesn't necessarily mean we're honoring her.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Yes. We're giving her a tremendous amount of power over us, but it doesn't mean that we are thinking she's great.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's well said. Yeah. Thanks.
Phil.
Yeah.
But that other person said it well. I can't see the chats right now because I'm walking around in the woods.
Yeah. It's good. Taking care of yourself. Well, thanks for being here, Phil. I appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. Yeah. I'll let other people speak. I just wanted to bring this up. The pedestal thing, I think, is a simplification.
To me, I mean, I was certainly afraid of things ending. And a lot of that was, what does this mean about me? So our theme of today, right, of self-worth, how do I know I'll find love again? This all starts with in ourselves. And so if we think we're all to blame, if we're the bad boy that's done everything wrong, if mommy can scold us and she can yell at us and then everything's our fault and we just shut up because we're afraid, that's what I see as the nice guy. That's what I see as putting her on
Yeah.
pedestals. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Luke, are you able to come in? You said, I think putting them on a pedestal is more about seeing them as above us and us needing to live up to their value or the value they bestow on us because we don't have our own value. How do you see that, your own value?
Well, I think, I was reflecting on Phil's comments, and because I do feel like I put my wife on a pedestal, and I think for me it felt like I've got this great, wonderful woman with me. She's beautiful. Lots of people want her. She's amazing to spend time with. That means I'm valuable. But if she's unhappy with me or she doesn't want to be with me anymore, that means I'm not valuable. And so, because I don't have my own sense of value to fall back on, that barometer is entirely linked to her and her perception of me.
Yeah. And how have you started to move it away from her, the barometer of your perception?
Well, I actually just came in halfway through. I was listening to you guys while I was in my first boxing class. How I've started to move it away is by looking at some of my core wounds, one of which is like a lot of bullying when I was young and feeling pretty defensive. And I was like, fuck this, I'm not going to feel that way anymore. So I just took a boxing class right now. And that, to Caesar's point about filling your own cup up, it's amazing walking out of that class being like, wow, I just did something about one of my core issues that has nothing to do with my relationship.
Yeah, did it for you because you want to be that man. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Luke. Good to see you, man. Yeah. Yeah. Another man put in the chat, my fear of getting yelled at was my fear of having the truth about how I wasn't stepping up. Yeah, this is all a soup mixed together, right, guys? Part of our fear is that I'm not being the man that I want to be. And how do I know that? How do I judge my own self, not just through her eyes, not just through her emotions and her responses? That's what we're talking about today. So let's step into this more. I love your questions. I hope that you're taking notes along the way. There's always something impactful from hearing from other men from what we're talking about. So let's step forward into this. So number one is daily action. So find and practice your own unique brand of self-worthiness begins with daily action. So what daily or weekly actions can I take? What am I doing every day, every week to find my own brand of self-worth? I started posting on Twitter this last week. I've never posted on Twitter. I started posting on Twitter to reach a different audience of guys. And here's a few screenshots of daily action. Frustrated, get to the gym and lift heavy shit. Talked about that today. So are you getting to the gym? Are you getting to the gym on a consistent basis or getting outside, doing some kind of weightlifting or moving your body, growing your power? It releases natural endorphins, increases testosterone. And if you aren't having sex, go fuck open the world, I said. Be that man because for you, just because for you. Eat your heart out, Karen. Here's another one. Intimacy. This is something that I failed on in the past. And per the point in the chat here of where is somewhere I'm not stepping up, I was guilty of this. My sex life sucked because one of these things. One of you is more stressed than you realize. You just expect it to happen like magic. Or judgment fills the air like a stinky fart. The judgments of she's not doing enough or I'm not doing enough, I'm not worthy. It's this judgment that clouds us. So don't plan sex, but do plan time for intimacy. You got to water the garden if you expect flowers to bloom. That was a daily, weekly action that I put on the back burner because I was so busy. I didn't plan time to have 5 minutes with her. I didn't plan time. It was more if she got upset and then, uh-oh, now what do I do? And here's one more for daily action. You could take a screenshot of this. I teach this to my members in my Kingly Life Path group. I teach this to my one-on-one clients. This is just the first 3 pieces of 8-part daily morning Kingly plan that I teach men. These first 3. I do these every single day. So before I open my phone, before I before I look at my email, before I don't know, open YouTube, which all those things were a bad habit from the past. I look out the window, usually while I'm sitting on the toilet. I look out the window and I say one thing that I'm grateful for in my life. Like today, it feels like spring is wanting to burst open here in Colorado, seeing the blue sky, hearing the birds. Number two, read one page of something that's inspiring for you, one page of something that's inspirational. And today I read from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I'm a few chapters into this one right now, and I've actually got a quote from this book I want to share with you guys here in a few minutes. So read one page of something inspirational. And number three, ask yourself, what do I know to be true about myself? Like men have already said on this call, I know that I want to grow. I know that I want to learn more skills. I know that I need to take active rest, and I'm planning for that. Just one thing. And doing this every single day takes me, I say, 2 minutes. What's something I'm grateful for? Read one page of something inspirational. What do I know to be true about myself in a positive way? Right. Man, in the chat, I start my day dropping heavy shit. Does that count? Yeah. Dropping heavy shit. As long as you picked it up before you dropped it, I suppose. All right. Number two is the kingly mindset. So let me take a step back here. Being certain that you'll find love again is about a kingly mindset, as I call it, your mindset. So how do I know that I'll find love again within my life? I found this, let's say, meme the other day that I love. The laws of detachment: allow others to be who they are. Allow yourself to be who you are. Don't force situations. Solutions will emerge. Do you believe that solutions will emerge? Uncertainty is reality, and embrace it. There's two big pieces here that I made mistakes on in the past is I didn't allow her to be who she is, so to speak. I thought that her values should be the same as my values. And so I judged that. I judged that she didn't want exactly the same things as I did. And then I started to unknowingly punish her for it, either by shitty facial expressions or holding my breath and the bad energy that I had around her. And I did not embrace uncertainty in the past. I did not know that that was a part of this life. And that's a part of what the nice guy is within No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover is we think everything is supposed to be perfect. We're not good at embracing uncertainty. Self-awareness is vital in relationships. Why? You must know what you want in order to get it. If you have self-awareness, you can course correct on the fly. And if you have self-awareness, when you're challenged, you'll be able to stay calm. So as Bill was saying, it's not questioning yourself in the moment. You're there just to feel her emotions, there to be as open-hearted as you can be. And if it starts to become too much, you say thank you and take a break. Like, pause and take a break. Tell her that you're going to think about what she said. You're going to journal about what she said, and you'll come back and talk with her another time. I didn't know that I could do that. Only a fool expects an amazing relationship without mastering your own mind, body, and soul. And how do I know that I'll find love again? The mindset of finding love with my wife or with another woman or even for myself. You will find deep within yourself. You will find deep love again, but first within yourself and then with a woman, whether it's your wife or another woman. And only in that order, only in the order of you first. Steve Horseman said this the other day to me, and I wrote it down. You either come from love or you wait for love. You either come from a place of love within yourself or you're waiting for that to come from outside of you. Don't wait, start with you. And here's the quote from Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. We deserve respect. You deserve some respect. You are important to other people as much as to yourself. You have some vital role to play in the unfolding destiny of the world. You are therefore morally obliged to take care of yourself. You should take care of, help, and be good to yourself the same way you would take care of, help, and be good to someone you loved and valued. And I certainly didn't act this way in the past. I certainly didn't give myself the same sense of value as I did everything else on my list, my job, my son, what her emotions were in the moment. I didn't take care of and help myself in the way that I would and do others. And that's a part of this mindset that's important. Yeah, Alex in the chat. Proud of myself today. I did not display clinginess in front of my wife, who's forcing a divorce on me, he says. When my son today asked to have her take him to a play date I had arranged for him, my wife is now trying to get all activities with the kids as we're in a tough custody battle. Yeah, Alex, come on in. Share some of this of your own self-worth. You able to come in, Alex? Yeah,
Sure, I am,
please.
and thank you. And
Yeah. So in the middle of
uh,
all this, how are you growing still your own sense of worth?
I'm just realizing that the most important thing is to be authentic and also be an example for my children. And I mean, I can't force things on them. And although I feel that there is some type of, effort on my wife to just to win them, by all means, I'm trying to stay grounded and make sure that I follow my own set of values. So and it's hard because my tendency is to also try to take a to try to really, I would say, have them on my side too. But I'm realizing that this is not something lasting, and it's not coming from my heart. So that's the dilemma I've been in. But I have to be myself, and I feel that when I'm myself, I would say in a longer term, it brings more calmness than trying to somehow appease her or the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Where does that come out when you're buying them a toy, when you're trying to plan things for them? What's the voice inside of you say that I need to beat her? I need to win?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a fear of not being accepted by them or not being loved, which is obviously not what a true man should be looking for. Like, I mean, I think things have to come, first of all, from myself. Am I doing the right things? Am I believing in myself? And it's something that's taking time, for sure. But I mean, it has to be consistency along the way.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate being here.
Thank you.
How can I find worth? Yeah, thank you. How can I find worth within myself? That's such a difficult question when we're facing in the middle of it. Right there. Absolutely, Alex. Yeah, thank you. Let's take a step forward. I'm going to get into my 17 times 2 connecting with a woman formula here right now. Oh, yes. So resources. If you want to reach out and connect with one of the Good Guys to Great Men coaches, there's the first link on there. My website, Great Men Move Mountains. I have free things on there as well, greatmenmovemountains.com. If you want to reach out to me, we've got a free audio book. Got, last time I checked, 744 videos on YouTube. So if you want to check out my YouTube channel, Great Men Move Mountains, there's some resources for you. All right, let's step forward. Lover skills. What's the 17 times 2 formula for connection? All right, as I read this, as I talk about this, I want you to think, how willing am I to try this? Regardless of where you are in your relationship, things could be going well. Things could be going terribly. You could be separated. You could be living still separated in the same house. You could be facing divorce. But how willing would you be to try this challenge? The 17 by 2 formula for connection with a woman. Now, I started giving men this homework 2018, long time. And this is what I found. So if I offer the man to talk with 2 new women per week, so you have to begin some type of conversation with 2 new women per week. Maybe that's in the grocery store. Maybe that's with the woman after yoga class. Maybe she's in line in front of you at Chipotle. Maybe she's in line behind you at the coffee shop. Every single one. I practiced every single one of those, by the way. So talk with 2 new women per week for 2 minutes. You're just trying to have a conversation for 2 minutes or longer. That's it, right? Without trying to get anything from them. That's the key, is you're not trying to get anything from this woman. You're not trying to get her to smile at you. You're not trying to get her phone number. You're not trying to get her to approve of you. It's talking with 2 women for a week, 2 women a week for at least 2 minutes is the goal without trying to get anything from them. And when I've given men this homework, it started off by giving a man who was let's say after divorce, and he wants to date again. And I've since been giving this homework to almost every man that I work with one-on-one in my coaching or in my membership groups, because it helps us face our fear of judgment from a woman, and what to say and how to have a conversation and keep our social skills up. And so on average, here's why the 17, on average, men started dating a woman after chatting with 17 women for 2 minutes. So what's 17 divided by 2? In about 8 or 9 weeks on average, 2 women a week, in 8 or 9 weeks, without trying to do anything, on average, that man was dating a woman after 17 conversations, as long as those conversations lasted longer than 2 minutes, without trying to get anything from them, without trying to get anything from her. So how willing would you be to practice this challenge, regardless of what's going on with now, if you're with your woman, if you're still with her and you're not trying to date, obviously then you don't start dating a woman. But how willing are you to try talking with a woman for 2 minutes without trying to get anything from her? So let's stop there. Let's pause there. We've got about 20 minutes left on this call. I want to open this up to questions that men have. And so talking about this formula, let me jump back to the screen here. What questions do you have on finding your own unique brand of self-worthiness? Men have shared with that today, how they're looking to that themselves. What's your edge there? How do you know you'll find love again within your own self? Or maybe that's a challenge for you. And are you willing to practice connection with women? This is about daily action, your mindset, and practicing new skills. So what question do you have? Unmute yourself. Come on in. Let's talk about this. Patrick, you unmuted yourself. Do you want to come in?
Oh, that was slightly unintentional, but I was just reflecting on this 2 minutes 17. I did that this week. Another group challenged. I want to see you out having a coffee somewhere. So I went to your equivalent of Pool Depot and had a coffee in the cafeteria. And I was looking for some more vegetable plants. And I was standing beside a woman looking at the lettuce plants. And one was called Drunken Woman. And I said to her, how does a lettuce plant get called Drunken Woman? And that resulted in a 2-minute conversation. And with her telling me, I choose these ones because they're crunchy and you can just pull the leaves off, but quite a relaxed, easy conversation. And while I was walking to pay for it, there was a lady with a large hoe in her hand. I said, oh, that's a big stick. Who are you beating with it? And my next bit of cheek was going to be, and how much do I have to pay? But it didn't go there. But you just keep it light and breezy. They both smiled and had a little bit of a chuckle. It's a piece of piss, really. But or maybe it is for me. I don't know about others, but I just be myself and take me if you leave me. She could always slap me with the pole. That would have got a tickle.
She could slap you with the pole. That's true. So how do you, Patrick, have the confidence? I can imagine men saying, how do you have the confidence to just walk up to a woman and start talking with her? How do you not collapse within your own self? What do you do? How do you do that?
You don't. Well, like I was standing trying to sort out some lettuce plants because I eat a lot of salad and I run out of the other ones. And I come across this one called Drunken Woman, and I just sort of half allowed, how does a lettuce get called Drunken Woman? What's the similarity? And she went, I don't know. And then we got talking about lettuces, and I went, yeah, well, I'm on my own, so I'm, looking for salads and things like that. So you see, I got in there that I was single. Thought I was not single, but you know what I'm saying. And it just flowed from there. But what's the worst you can say? Piss off? Well, okay, I can piss off. No harm, no harm, no foul. I don't know. I've always been cheeky, as you know, Jeff. So I don't. Well, you've got to be true to yourself. Figure out what you are, and but not everybody's going to like you. So who cares? If you know what I mean. I mean, I recently did a tribute for a friend at his service, and 3 women afterwards that I didn't know come up to me and said that was well done, and I'm going, oh, you think so? Wasn't too long? No. One lady said I could listen to you for hours, not directly to me, but to the widow. And I went, oh, which one?
Yeah.
I've got the stage. I'm just me. Take me or leave me. Like if you don't like me, you'll mute me in a hell of a hurry. But that's the approach I've got.
Yeah.
Because
Good stuff.
what's the worst that can happen?
I was just going to say that mindset of what's the worst that can happen? Am I okay to be a bit embarrassed here? Does it mean anything about me as a man if she doesn't want to speak with me? These are fundamental questions.
Yeah, in a way, you've got to take your ego out of it. Ego is the anesthetic that dulls the pain of your stupidity. So just take your ego out of it and don't worry. Who cares? Not everybody voted for Nixon, but he's still made president.
Yeah. Good stuff, Patrick. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here, man. Yeah, Brian, please come on in.
I gotta remember to unmute everything that I have. It's been a while since I've been here, but every single time I get here, there's always something that reminds me what I'm supposed to do here. So on this planet, not just in this group. The way that I look at that, the way that I look at that, because on Fridays I like to dance. That's how I refill mine. And I'm going back to that after being not dancing for almost 20 years, literally and figuratively. But having that just off comment, which some people might think of that comment being like, how do you get a drunken lettuce name? Could be off-putting for some people. At the end of the day, when I look at that and say, hey, that's the type of person that when they react to that is the person I want to be around, regardless if that becomes a further relationship other than just a friendly conversation. Obviously, the person that just says piss off is going to obviously piss off. But is that the person you even want to be around anyway? Like, do you want that person to even be your neighbor or on the same hill that you're on, let alone the same mountain? So that's the way I look at it and just go, humor and, fear is the two biggest, strongest emotions that every single human has. I would rather have humor than fear. So how do I make sure that humor is what's surrounding me and everyone that I love and care about and not fear? So
yeah, phenomenal, Brian. How did you come to that realization that you want to start there? That's what we're speaking about. How do I find love again? Well, it has to come from within my own self, my joy every day. How did you make that shift?
I've now been divorced for 4 years, and I've always been someone that have been funny and the class clown. But when people start to learn who I am and they around me more than just that funniness, there is a pull that I did not realize that I had because I never want to take accomplishments. And it was profound to me about 3 years ago when I was in one of these and one of the women was on that I was talking about it. She gave me a compliment and immediately stopped me and said, hey, why'd you not accept my compliment?
Mm.
And that was because I don't like compliments. I don't like to be okayed or like praised because I did something that I expect that I'm supposed to do. Like my personally that I am supposed to do. And I am a very, very big hater on myself. And that negative talk is not good. How do I get rid of that? That's being humorous, laughing, getting that negative energy or fear that I have that I'm not going to be okay with whoever I'm around to get out of my way. Because I will bring way more abundance to myself and everyone around me if I start with worst case scenarios. I'm going to make them laugh and then we're never going to talk again. Or they'll get mad and talk to somebody else, and whoever they talk to, at least one of those people are going to laugh and go like, okay, well, it was funny, but I see your point. And then they'll have a conversation about it. But that might just chip that little bit off of whoever was mad at me, or that woman that I spoke to went, oh, well, that friend that I think is on the same page as me, but laughed because of what this man said. Maybe I was just being maybe I was just being a Karen, right? Maybe I was being too rude, or maybe I wasn't thinking about it. And will hopefully help change that dynamic the next time she's around somebody or another, even a younger kid. My son is 18. Hopefully that will change it, because every single time I turn around, I want to be positive around everything and everyone I want. So at the end of the day, your question is, where was that trigger? That trigger was probably about 3 years ago when I did not accept that in front of a woman that obviously was way grounded than I was. That's not what was supposed to happen. But at the end of the day, that continues to remind me that I'm supposed to be grounded, but my groundedness is being funny and making people laugh, because the other opportunity that can come up is to be fearful of everything that I do. And that's
Yeah,
not where I want to be or anybody else should be. So
that's fantastic. Like, humor is the secret key that you found to open up this locked cage of who you are. So you step through that. You step through that pathway to be the man you want to be and bring value to the world. You started off by saying it's a reminder of who I want to be in the world, not only for your own self, but for others. That's what I'm hearing, Brian.
that is correct. And
Yeah.
all of my kids know that I will always make light of stuff that's happened. And if my tone changes while we're out, there's a reason for that. And they become my scouts in a sense, I guess is the best way to say it.
Hmm.
Like, oh, dad's voice changed, something's wrong. What's going on? What is he seeing that we're not? Right. And then how can we quickly make this adjustment so that we can go back to just having fun and enjoying everything else and all the things that are around us. And it was weird to see that happen with my kids, but that means that I'm doing what I'm supposed to. So that means I need to continue with where I need to be, because I want to be joking, I want to have fun, but also that doesn't mean that they can't disrespect me or put that position that they can disrespect me, because that's not going to be tolerated. And it's been difficult for my 3 kids to kind of catch on to that, but they know that 9 times out of 10, it's fun. We're playing around. We're going to enjoy it. And there are just those times where we may go to a place that's not very friendly or not the best part of the neighborhood because of what I do and what I like to show my kids, that, where we live is not always beautiful, unfortunately. But I want you to be prepared as well. And so, see the goodness in everything and everyone around you. But there are times where you need to make sure that you put that filter on and go like, is this something that's going to be a problem for everyone else around us? Or can we make a positive impact on this and then step away? Because that small impact today can become a mountain of snowballs coming down, a couple weeks later. So
Yeah, I hear the wisdom in what you're saying, as it sounds like mistakes that you made in the past, because I can relate to those mistakes of making in the past. So you're being this whole
yep,
new man, practicing
I'm
being this
definitely
whole.
trying to.
Yeah, good stuff, Brad. I
So
appreciate it.
again, I do want to say thank you before I stop, and we'll let Jamie jump in. I do appreciate, because several of those points that you had, like the uncertainty, that's something that I needed to hear. So I'm going to take that heart, and I appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
Thanks for being here, Brian. Good stuff. Yeah, Jamie, please come on in.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about knowing your self-worth a little bit. For me, this is kind of all new to me, so this is my first one of these and things. So um, I'm just in that stage where my she's about to go see her lawyer on Monday. So we're starting this whole divorce thing and things like that. So, but I think yesterday what kind of hit me was my son telling me he's looking at other men for examples and things like that. So, just hearing that, and then just thinking about I know I'm better than that. I know I can do better than that. I know I've done better than that. Knowing my self-worth is doing things like this, starting this whole process, this whole journey. Just doing things like you mentioned, um, you know, doing things that I used to do that I enjoy, that's taking care of myself a little bit, knowing that I'm still there for my kids. I'm not, being selfish. Like my wife's kind of pointed out that I'm kind of being selfish, kind of taking care of myself for the first time in a long time. So that's been kind of hard to hear. And just hearing that from my son yesterday was kind of tough. That was kind of a gut punch. And then as far as the talking to women thing, I'm thinking where we're at. I'm not sure I could do that right now. I'm thinking my wife would probably kill me if I did that. She already doesn't trust me enough. So I'm but I don't know. Maybe that's something I do and I don't tell her. I don't know. That sounds probably not a good idea right now, but I don't know. So,
Say again, what would you do and not tell her? I missed that piece. Go for it.
well, you were talking about the talking to women for 2 minute thing.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure that's, and in that, if you were to do something like that and you're in a marriage or you're trying to work things out, I'm thinking like, how, you know, would that be something you could tell your wife, like, this is what I'm doing, I'm working on this? Because I don't know that I would want to do it behind her back kind of thing, which she, if she doesn't trust me already, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, okay. So you're not trying in that's a great question. With this
Right.
17 by 2, you're not trying to get anything out of it. It's to re-engage in the
Mm-hmm.
world. So when I was in my past relationship, right, we've been together for 12 years, 13 years. That's my mom, the mom of my son, and we'd been together for so long that I hadn't practiced even talking with anyone out in public, talking with women. Sure, I could have a
Right.
conversation with a guy or the woman behind the retail counter, of course, but I hadn't practiced walking up and speaking with a strange woman who was standing by the avocados or behind me in the coffee line. All these things that I'm remembering that I did now many years ago doing this work. So no, you're not
Right.
going to run to your wife and say, "Hey, I'm going to go practice talking with other women because this is
Right.
a part of my own
Right.
journey and I need to get it." But the point is, uh, what's wrong with talking with women for 2 minutes? Is there anything wrong with that? Do we get in our own way and make excuses to not engage with the world, much less with women? Are we afraid in some way? So, no, you're not doing it to try to get dates. You're not doing it to violate your marriage, but you're doing it for your
Right.
own self, to lean into fear, to face your edge in that way. So, talk with me
I
about
see.
that, Jamie. Yeah.
So I I I do have the fear. I think I mentioned in the chat about the fear of, like, you know, now at this point, talking to my wife about anything pretty much. Like if we even try to have a conversation about anything, it leads to um, you know, yelling and screaming. And I don't want to do any of this here, especially when my kids are around, you know. Like she kind of wants to do that because she's trying to look to expose me for like every flaw that I have in front of them right now. So that's like I understand the exercise, the part of like talking to, you know, which I have no problem doing. I mean, in my job, I talk to women all the time. You know, it's usually work related. Sometimes it's like, hey, how are you, kind of a thing. It's not really a conversation kind of a thing. So I guess that's what you're saying. Like, you know, just make conversation, um, you know, for 2 minutes with different women as an
That's right.
exercise of,
That's right. And not in
gotcha.
your
Okay.
job. I should clarify, not in
Gotcha.
your job. The intent is there's no other frame around what's happening, and you bring the frame. You bring the laughter, as was said earlier, or you bring just the intention to connect with someone. And they may not want to talk with you. The reason it's for 2 minutes or more, it doesn't count unless it's longer than 2 minutes, is because some people will have no interest in talking with you. And that's fine. And so
Mhm.
facing that small rejection, facing that, what does this mean about me? Facing all the fear of walking toward or
Gotcha.
just initiating, like there's so much growth there. Absolutely. But let me ask, yeah. So let me
Gotcha.
ask Jamie, I wouldn't be very interested in speaking with anyone who's trying to make me look bad or like a fool or wrong or evil in front of my children. So I wouldn't expect you
Yeah.
to want to right now talk with someone who's trying to do that. What's what do you think about that? Yeah, let me ask.
I think I agree. I mean, I've said to her, you know, I don't think we should be doing this, you know. But she's kind of like, you know, getting my kids to kind of like, you know, making me look bad. Like, well, he doesn't want to be like, he doesn't want you to know all the things that he's done to hurt me. You know, I've been married for 15 years. She's kind of playing it like that, like, well, you just don't want them to know all these things that you've done to me and how what a bad husband you've been and all these kinds of things. So, but I agree. I mean, I've kind of put up the boundary like this isn't okay. Um, but she looks at it as like that's kind of stonewalling. You know what I mean? Like I've almost, and now it's at the point where I'm kind of avoiding her because I know where it's almost like this is going to lead to this every time. You know. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, maybe I don't know if that's right or if that's the right thing to do or not. I don't know.
I mean, if I'm in your right, if I'm in your spot and I'm asking my wife if she thinks it's okay to air all of the dirty laundry and pains between us to our children, and she says, yes, I want them to
Mm-hmm.
know how evil of a person you are, I'm not interested really in spending much time talking with her. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I don't value that. I don't think it's valuable. I don't think it's appropriate to air our stuff with our kids.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to, I've done therapy and I've tried to talk to her like in ways that will, she gets she has probably I mean, she admits it. She has a rage problem. She does. And when she gets going, I mean, she just becomes very irrational. She does a lot of things. And I've tried to talk to her in a certain way where I could get her to calm down a little bit. We could actually talk without all that anger and yelling and screaming. But every time I do it, she's onto it. She knows like what I'm trying to do. And she's like, I know what you're trying to do here. You're trying to use what you're learning against me to try to get me to calm down so I won't yell and scream at you and express these feelings of anger. She feels that right to do that. But I just feel like it's not a good place to do it in front of our kids.
Yeah,
So,
I
and I don't
1000%
know.
agree.
I try to, yeah.
Yeah, it's not good for the kids. I smile a little bit when you say, I know what you're doing. You're trying to use this against me to not be angry and yell. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I would love to have a conversation with you where we can come from an open-hearted place. Yes, that's what I would love to do. And she
Yeah.
just takes it to anger. She keeps going. That's what's happening.
She does. Yeah, she does.
Yeah. And so that's your point of
So,
boundaries. The word boundary is really tough, but it's more of, to me, it's like, I'm not interested in that. Hey, I care for you.
yeah.
I care for you. I want to talk with you, and I'd love for you to join me, in healing. I'd love for you to join me in stepping forward, but no, I'm not interested in yelling and blaming me for everything. It's not something I'm interested in.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, there are times when we will talk and, I'm just starting all of this. So like, I'm learning that, what I'm not supposed to do. I'm not supposed to get defensive. I'm not supposed to deny things or I don't remember this. I don't remember that. So I'm,
Right.
sometimes I understand that's why she gets angry with me and she starts to get frustrated and things like that. So I got to own that part of it. But I feel like it should be done elsewhere, not
Yeah,
around my kids. So
I 1000% agree. So let's press pause, and there's guys in the chat that are supporting you as well. And one thing,
okay.
Jamie, I'll just say, and I'll move on to Phil and Alex. Bill brought up earlier, what do I do basically when she's unloading on me? So number one is, can I be there? And as long as it's not abusive, what does that mean to each one of us? If it starts to become abusive, like if she's just really going at you and calling you names and things, I put a stop to it there. Like, we'll pause. We're not going to call each other names. I'm not interested in that. And usually she doesn't stop. And so usually you have to pause and say, hey, I'm going to go take a break away. But number one is, can I just be here to breathe and have an open heart and find what I can agree with what she's saying? Like, yeah, that does sound really painful. It does sound like it was really hard for you, and not try to fix anything. And a completely separate time, a completely different day or the following weekend, is to actually address what's going on underneath all of that. And to not try to do those two things at the same time. Don't try to acknowledge her emotions and do something about it in the same breath or in the same conversation. That was my biggest
Okay.
mistake in the past in these spots, is to try to do both, and it doesn't work very well.
Okay.
Good stuff, Jamie. Good to see you. Yeah, you're in the right place,
Thanks.
man. Keep going.
Thanks.
Phil, let's go Phil and then Alex. Phil, come on in, please. So Phil, you're not muted now, but I can't hear you. You still there? There we go. You there, Phil?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. You
Yes,
raised your hand.
okay.
Did you want to come in?
Yes.
Yeah, please go. Please.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Sorry, there was some connection issue. So here I have two thoughts that might be helpful. So let's suppose that you're trying to rebuild things with your wife. It's kind of a mess. She doesn't trust you. Maybe here, can I suggest something? Instead of saying talk to two women, talk to two people. Talk to just including men. You can tell your wife that. I've got this exercise. I got to talk to two new people every week. And it's going to connect you. It's going to have some of the same benefits as talking to two women. but it's going to make you feel comfortable because you feel like you're not like doing this thing you can't even tell your wife about. Does that make any sense?
Sure, that makes sense. But again, don't tell your wife this stuff, guys. This is for your this is for your own growth. And I'm not asking anyone to do anything that's violating a relationship. Okay. Having a
Yeah, yeah.
2-minute conversation with a woman, I'm hoping that you see you're not doing anything that's crazy. You're just having a conversation, and you're not telling your wife this. You're doing this for yourself. Okay. Now, to your point, Phil, I agree 100% is if you're too afraid or too embarrassed or stifled to go talk with women, start by talking with men. Start by talking with women who are in a retail job because they're paid to be nice to you. Start by talking with grandmothers because they would love to have a 2-minute conversation with you. Absolutely. If you need some training wheels and you're not ready to just go talk with other women. But guys, this work is not to go ask your wife if it's okay. Like
It
you
is
have
late.
to, yeah, you're not violating your own integrity is the goal, and just to move past fear. Yeah.
I guess basically we're on the same page. I guess my suggestion is if you don't want to do this with women for whatever reason, either you're too afraid or you don't want to come across like a creep or whatever, start with men. Start with old ladies.
Yes.
Help them out.
Yes.
You know, they
Yes.
don't have to be hot young girls. They can be, you know, yeah. So
right.
Start with people where that's not even an issue.
That's exactly right. That's a good point, Phil. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a thought.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give the floor.
We'll go Alex, and then we'll wrap up for today. Yeah. Thanks. Alex, come on in, please.
Sure. Yeah. So, on the comment of those conversations with the wife, I mean, one thing I found out that, especially if the relationship is in some kind of a distress and the wife is extremely angry and emotional, I mean, she's not really looking as much for answer as a way to really vent and just be heard. And sometimes even being heard, she doesn't want to be heard. She wants some type of an agreement, but then the goalpost is moving and she's still unhappy. So I found myself initially being in a situation in which I loaded myself emotionally as a result of the conversation. And sometimes I had outbursts, but I realized if the conversation gets too tough, I mean, I can tell her, stop, you did this to me. It's really an assessment of who I am as a person. Do I really want to get involved in this? Do I want to participate in here? So withdrawing from the conversation, I found that usually works. And I've had experience with my wife just coming in, sometimes waking me up in the morning, just trying to load stuff on me. And I was able to stand up and be as calm as I could. So I feel that, and then things calmed down. And I used to be, very stressed about her emotional loading because oftentimes she was threatening, this is going to happen, this is what's going to be happening. And then the next day she was back to normal. And I feel that by not responding to these types of things, just acknowledging them, and in extreme cases withdrawing from the conversation, in the end, it keeps somehow the relationship without, I would say, visible tension. So that's my experience, working to get better and better every day with everyone's help.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. We are the sky, and her feminine moods are the clouds in the sky. Sometimes they're big and dark and scary and thunderstorm. Sometimes there's a tornado. Sometimes it's clear skies. We're there to observe and touch in within our own selves. The biggest mistake has been thinking that we caused the thundercloud, when usually that's not the case. It's been so many things together.
Yeah, and it's also about providing fixes to these problems. I mean, I found that this could have a boomerang effect. Yeah, especially like if a woman is in distress, telling her, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? At that point in time, for myself, it's been either assessing where providing empathy and understanding to her state is not helping, and I have to withdraw myself from the conversation. And especially if the kids are involved, if the kids are around, it's very important for me not to have any type of thing that would really get any type of idea out of them, like not respond to any type of anger.
That's well said, Alex. That's well said. I appreciate it. I'll
Thank
press
you.
pause. And let's wrap it up for today. I want to remind you, whoops. Yeah, those are the resources. I want to remind you what Jordan Peterson said. You have some vital role to play in the unfolding destiny of the world. You are therefore morally obliged to take care of yourself. You are obliged, you are obligated to take care of yourself so you can feel full in this world. And that's what this work is about. If you have questions, if you want a book recommendation of where you are, if you have questions on what you're facing right now, if you want help facing your edge or facing fear, reach out to me, Jeff@greatmenmovemountains.com. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the forum. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend. Yeah, I love you guys in the chat. You're very welcome. Ciao, guys. Appreciate you.